Welcome to the third and final episode of the How to Find Good Contractors and Team Members podcast series I'm conducting with Greg Hamlyn from Trades Coaching. This is episode 3, How to Retain Your Staff.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello listeners and welcome back to Toolbox Talks on the Site Shed. I want to thank you once again for sharing your earbuds with us wherever you are on the planet. You're joining us for the third and final episode of the How to Find Good Contractors and Building Teams episode series with Greg Hamlyn from Trades Coaching. Greg, welcome back.
Hey, how you going, mate? Good to be back.
Excellent. So, Greg, this is the third episode. In the first episode, we were talking about identifying and creating the role you're looking to replace yourself in. That was a fantastic episode. And for the listeners that missed that, go back and check it out. There's also in the show notes for that episode a really cool matrix that you can get hold of, which will help you ascertain where your time is being best spent and where you can potentially outsource certain tasks that you're doing, which are taking you away from the important parts of your business. In the second episode, or the previous episode, we were talking about finding the right staff members. That was pretty cool. We talked about some processes in hiring. You gave us a pretty cool example there of one of the hiring episodes that you guys had when you brought on a new marketing person in your business. We're talking about skill-based teachability and a lot of other cool things as well, how to market for that role. In this episode, we're talking about how to retain staff. Now, this is the golden question, and this is one that we get asked a lot, both through the podcast and at workshops and presentations we conduct. I'm really interested to hear your take on this, Greg. It is a big issue, and it seems like, I know we touched on it in the last episode, there's a lot of work out there, but there's not a lot of staff to fill those positions. So I suppose, finding that sweet spot in being able to retain customers when there's retain your staff when there's so much work out there available for them. That's really the golden question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's really, again, it comes down to simple things like, and some of this stuff we've been talking about is having a process, but it's, you build it once and you can replicate it again and again, and it's easy, but it's that spending time working on the business rather than the business. I know, sometimes it sounds like it might be a bit of a cliche sort of thing, and that, but you're investing in a lot of money, or ideally you're investing money in a team member that's should be making you a lot of money. So it's like any investment. If you look after it and nurture it and grow it, it becomes an investment. If you don't, that's the whole thing with like a tree. If it's grown, if it's not grown, it's dying. If you're not going to invest any time or effort or anything like that in your team, well, you kind of get the result you deserve. If you know what I mean. Yeah. So
what about I know we kind of touched on this as well in the previous episode. We're talking about like giving your staff, I suppose, all of the tools and the equipment that they need, and all the training they need in order to basically make that position a success for both you and them. I know in the past I've been in scenarios where I've just totally dropped the ball in the startup process and not getting people started the right way. Is that something you see a lot of?
Yeah, it's very common in all small businesses, and it doesn't matter what type of business you're in. A lot of small businesses, they just go, okay, great, I'll just hire them. They should be able to go in there, and they kind of advocate the position. They just throw them into the deep end, and they go, yep, you got to sink or swim because I'm too busy to do anything else. I'm so busy doing my job that I can't help you with your job. And so what happens is you end up hiring somebody that goes, where do I start? What do I do? And they've got no real idea of what you do there. So how you start them makes a massive difference to the outcome, And I spoke about Natasha before in the previous session, and I'd never done it before. I've taught her heaps and heaps of times over the years, but I've never actually done it before myself. And when because I've got mainly overseas staff, and even in that situation now, I'm looking at modifying that. But we went through and I set up a complete induction process, and the induction process was, I had the office set up for her, I had her email set up for her, I had everything set up for her. So day one when she came in, it was the first hour was basically going through and just showing her where everything was, showing her where the bathrooms were and all that sort of stuff. Now the same's true with all teams. It really is about how you start them. And so she came in and then we did the whole, this is our software that we're going to be using. We just went through that whole process and we mapped it out. And I actually mapped out day one week one, month one, all the way through to the third month. So that we got to the end of week one, we asked about what could be done better, what we couldn't, what she liked about the process. And the feedback was phenomenal because I knew exactly what I had to do from day one.
Yeah.
And so there was none, and I've got now, it's like one of the people, I've never had a person that is so engaged in our business the way we want them to be engaged, because she knows what our vision is, she knows what the people we are that we help, and she knows exactly what we want to do with where we're going with the business. And rather than just being thrown and saying, hey, here's the sales job, go and do it, here's the phone, here's the phone, here's your script, thanks a lot, see you later.
Yeah.
She now knows where we're going, what we want to do with it. And so it doesn't matter whether you're a tradesman, subcontractor, what it is, even the bigger companies. You look at any of the bigger building companies, what's the first thing they actually do when you get a subcontractor on site? It's inducting them.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if it's good enough for them, why isn't it good enough for every other business? Mm-hmm. And I think it sets the attitude. So we went through and we set the vision, we set our mission, we where we are now, where we plan to be in 12 months' time. We showed them the growth, and we showed them, we set out a clear path progression. Now, some people say, well, he's just going to be a subby, or he's just going to be I don't know, plumber, right? Mm. Or he's just going to be the gyprocker, or whatever it is, the role and the thing. But the thing is, as your business grows, you can show them that they've got a chance to become the foreman, the leading hand, or give them more responsibility and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Show them a bit of a path, show them progression, because at the end of the day, the paycheck's only part of it. With the right people, the paycheck is only part of it.
Yeah.
If you've got, like I said, I think in the previous session, if you've actually got someone that's jump ship for an extra $2 an hour, then obviously they're not really. They're just in it for the money. Mm-hmm. You want somebody that's on your team that's going to be in it to grow with you, to go with you, to see your vision in the business. And like I said about the team, the football team in the previous podcast, it's really about enrolling them and inspiring them to take that next step. So how you start them is I think is the biggest step, and it doesn't matter what role in any business. If I was to start any position, like I said, even a builder, a contractor, if we were to do anything with them, it is about spending some time with them and getting their feedback. What could you do better? I mean, we actually asked Natasha at the end of that week one, what could we have done better? And she's going, wow, I've never been to a company that's been focused on making sure that this job is a successful job.
Yeah. So I know I've been in a situation very similar to myself in the past where I started out all enthusiastic in a job. It was all great, and it looked like there was a good path to, I suppose, succession. However, the reality was over time that interest dwindled very quickly, and I really just felt like it was sort of working in a dead end job there. And I could see myself turning, like my whole attitude towards working there went from just being super excited and really enjoying it just to absolutely hating it. And it wasn't until after I quit that job and left, and I thought, why was that the case? Like, it was a good lesson for me because now as a business owner, I think it's so important that you have like you're aware of the your staff and the reality that, well, it's not all about you. You've got to find a way of really getting them to buy into the business in order for them to achieve their own goals and get where they want to go. And I think if you can, as business owners, if you can really put a bit of time and effort into getting to know your staff and figuring out what they want to achieve and helping them with a path to get there through your business, then it really gets them to buy into the business as well. Do you have that experience?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. You've got to be careful on that, but it is exactly true. There's a process around it. I mean, I have to say, in Canberra, when I was back there about 15 years ago, I actually hired my first salesperson back then, and I didn't go through the induction process, but I actually went through the whole how to inspire them and all that sort of stuff. So I actually talked about, she was 23 and she wanted to do this and where she wanted to go, and she ended up leaving the company and going backpacking around Europe. So because I inspired her to go for her goal and her dream. But what you want to do is enroll them into the business's vision and the businesses where the business owner wants to take the business. And it might sound like a lot of work, but realistically, your role as a business owner is to look after the systems and the team. Make sure the systems are working really well and make sure the team's working well. You shouldn't be on the tools, swinging the hammer and doing whatever else, unless that's where you need to be, but unless that's where you want to be, I should say. Yeah. But you should be, investing time in your team to make sure that you get the most out of them and setting things like key performance indicators around what they're doing, making sure they're enrolled, like I spoke about before with the football team, making sure they're enrolled. But, sometimes cash is not always the best incentive. So things that we can do is, dinners with the family every now and then, or weekend holidays, or those sort of incentives to be able to get them enrolled and set the KPI. So what I'm saying is, I'll give you an example. Denny he's a TV repair business that I work with. And so we were sitting down when we first started and we were looking at, he's got a okay sort of team there. He had some good systems and that in place, and we're trying to set some targets over 3 months. So we set the key performance indicators for a 3-month period, and we said if we can get to these targets, what do the guys want, and or guys and girls want? And over 50% of them said PlayStation 3. At that stage, it was because he said we can give you cash incentives, but what happens with the cash incentive? Friday afternoon I give you a cash incentive. It's gone on your house bills. It's gone on something else. Yeah. As soon as it's gone. If I give you a carton of beer, where's that gone? It's normally gone within a Friday afternoon. Yeah. But if I give you a place, he gave them a couple of different ideas, and then one of the guys turned around and said, "How about a PlayStation 3?" And this was back a little while. I don't know what model they're up to now because I don't play.
No idea.
But it's PlayStation 3. And he turned around and they said, yeah, let's do it. And so they were all focused on achieving this goal over the 3 months. And he ended up going out and buying 13 PlayStation 3s.
Oh, wow.
Right, for his team. Yeah. And so, did that get a wow for the next set of targets we set? Yeah, the next set of targets was a weekend conference. He actually made it as a business claim. He went for a weekend conference.
That sounds familiar.
So he paid for a weekend. Away. Got their family and everything there. But it was again set at a value when he knew what the value was, how much he wanted to give away. But that was another incentive for them. And so it was just little things like that. And another client took all of his team on a go-karting day. It was a team building exercise, but it was a go-karting day because they were very competitive. It's in the fuel injection industry and in the car industry, and they were very competitive. Mm-hmm. And so they all said, let's go for a go-karting day. But it just having key performance indicators. And another good example, Stuart, he builds houses. And so he's a builder. And so what he said was, if we could cut down the amount of time by a week, this is what I've quoted, if we can cut it down by a week or two, the more you cut down, the bigger the incentive. But we still got to come out with the same quality. So he was building what was taking 15 weeks to build, he's now building in 10 weeks. The guys are getting a massive incentive, and he's ended up with better quality work than he had before.
Okay.
Just through that simple process. I mean, yes, he uses quality assurance checklists, all the stuff that we've got in our systems to help him out, but he's got them enrolled enough to be able to say, hey, these are the key performance indicators. Let's, guys, here's what we're doing. We're doing a week's fishing trip was the first one. A week's fishing trip. If we can knock a week off this job, guys, actually, if they knock 5 weeks off, was a week's fishing trip away, and that's what they did.
So is there a process around developing key performance indicators and incentives?
Yeah, a process around it. Key performance indicators, I look at key performance indicators from the perspective of, what are the major key performance indicators that you need to know? So imagine off in the Bahamas sipping Mai Tais, right? What things do I need to know in my business to make sure that business is running effectively and I'm getting the most from a team? And so you look at those things, and let's say in Stuart's case, I was just talking about the building the homes, right? He's looking at cost efficiencies around product, materials, and how he could do things more efficiently. So we looked at how long it was taking him to build the houses, how could we do that quicker, what sort of systems and processes could we put in place, could we build it a better way? So we looked at from cutting frames to buying prefab frames, those sort of things. And then we looked at the timeline. So simple, basic key performance indicators for around the guys, amount of sick leave, amount of time, hours worked each week, those sort of things are the basic key performance indicators. Yeah. But on the indicators where you're going to get paid incentives for, they've got to be profitable indicators, things that are going to put money back in your pocket, right? A landscaper worked with exact same thing. Guys, I've quoted 16 weeks to do this landscaping job. If we can do that in so many hours, well, I've quoted so many hours was what it was. And if we can get that down and be more efficient in our hours, then you guys get an incentive of some sort.
Yeah, okay.
And it's better to get the team enrolled in it rather than you just going in and barking and going, hey, this is it. Hey, guys, I used to have this guy, he wanted to have clean vehicles every week. he was doing dry cleaning equipment installations, and he had this one guy that was a filthy sort of guy that wouldn't clean his vehicle up.
Mm-hmm.
So we turned around and said, okay, so we want to have that as part of our image. What's going to be the best way? So we actually came in with like a 10-pound hammer to fix a single nail, to punch a nail in that should have been done easily. But we came in with this process and we said, okay, well, how about we get everybody involved in the process? How about in the next meeting we turn around and we talk about an incentive for keeping the cars clean? If everybody has cars cleaned each week, the owner, Brian, would put $20 in the tin.
Yeah.
But if anybody else had a dirty vehicle, they would put $20
in.
Yeah. So in the end, like Brian was actually putting in $20 for each vehicle, but actually no, he didn't. He actually put in $20, and it was the idea. The penalty was that was going to be a bonus for the end of the 6 months. Whatever was in there was a night at the pub or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So basically, they had this incentive for it, and this guy, his car was never dirty again after the first week. After when he had to, oh, you're serious? Yeah, mate, $20 in the tin. And he had the whole team. Sitting there going, mate, you agreed to this last week.
Yeah.
You're frigging $20 in the tin.
Yeah.
And so therefore,
accountable
to it. So it's better if you can get the team enrolled in the process. Danny's one with the PlayStations was, again, the whole team was enrolled in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I must admit that's something that I think a lot of listeners out there would be relating to, and me myself. I mean, I'm going through that stage at the moment, trying to figure out how to, I suppose, develop those KPIs and how to develop those incentives. So that's pretty useful to me. Yeah, we do one over a 3-month period with our team, and we've got a team in the Philippines, we've got a team in the US, and we've got a team here in Australia. Mm-hmm.
And so what it is whoever hits their targets over that 3 months and actually exceeds those targets, the person that exceeds the targets by the most, they get to pick the food that we're going to eat when we go out on a night on the company.
Yeah.
So the Philippine guys, I think last time Natasha actually won the targets. She was the one that picked it. We ate Thai for the night, so we all went out for Thai.
Yeah.
The team in the Philippines went out for Thai. The team in the US, they went out for Thai. And so she picked the thing. So we had the Filipino team trying to do it there for a little while, and all we kept on geeking was
fried
Korean.
chicken? Oh, right.
No, Korean. This guy wants to go to Korea. He's keen to go to Korea. Reg, no more Korean, mate. You've got to come up with something more expensive than that next time. But, it's just part of being enrolled in the team. It makes people, I want to pick the company's thing this month. Years ago, we used to do this thing. It was an incentive around a bloody 12-inch plastic bloody Commando dial. I'm trying to think what it was. And the incentive was, whoever sold the most over the month got to get this award, which was just a plastic dial thing. I can't remember what it was, an action figure of some sort. It was a tall action figure. But what came with that was a $150 voucher to go out for dinner with your family, And so everybody was aiming to have that, to win the action figure thing,
Yeah.
And then it became a game. Somebody actually, we won't say somebody, we'll say somebody for this, but somebody hijacked him and sent a ransom note for it and became a real fun thing. We had him dressed up. We took photos of him in the commando being held and gagged and all that sort of stuff. But it became fun. Everybody got involved, And that's when people see businesses being so serious and that. But if you start to turn it into, like I said before, it's you've got a team.
Yeah.
If you turn it into a game and stop being so serious, hey, you can have fun in this business, and get your team enrolled, and you can have lots of fun in this business.
Just before we wrap up, Greg, what's your take on, I suppose, equity and scenarios where, as incentives, you may want to potentially offer equity in a company?
I'm more of a give them profit share. So if you make profit, give them profit share rather than equity in a company, because having been through a few bad business partners, sometimes you don't really want to get some bad business partners inside your business,
Yeah.
So I'm a believer in profit share. And I have to say, there's some people out there that really get on with business partners, but that's, again, my fault with business partners. I'll take full accountability. There's too many people trying to drive the same bus. Too many high D people trying to do the same thing, driving different directions. So my belief is, rather than give away something that you've got to somehow buy them back out later on, give away profits.
Yeah.
You look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates gave away shares in the company. but it's a publicly listed company, so it doesn't hurt him much at all.
Yeah.
But in a smaller company, I believe in profits. You do it over profits. If there's profits, there's good. There's no use having great turnover and no profits. Don't give it on turnover. It's got to be on profits.
Oh, okay. Because that's interesting, though, isn't it? Because I mean, really, as a small business, I mean, ideally, well, not ideally, but very often, I mean, the business can kind of make as much money as you want it to from a profit point of view. I mean, you could spend all that money on stuff for the business, and at the end of the day, there's no profit left in it. Where in reality, there were profits.
Yeah, there was profit. This is where you've got to be. You've got to be fair about it. And the profits need to be, in a lot of ways, gross profits before expenses. But when you're looking at net profits, yes. I mean, I think I've spoken to you before about working with a $42 million building company out of Sydney that's making less than 1.5% net.
Yeah.
And well, I know where the rest of the money was going, and it was 6 fairly wealthy lifestyles inside the directors, the directors in the business. So yeah, but I
mean, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, this is offering incentives and so profit sharing and things like that is good, but I suppose it does require a level of transparency, and you've got to be fair and realistic about it.
Yeah. If I was ever going to do anything with a profit share in a business, which I actually have done, I've done both, and I've currently got one that's actually mainly because that person's related to me, rather than I wouldn't have done it any other way other than the fact that she's related to me. If she hadn't been related to me, it would have been a straight profit share, but you would be transparent with your numbers, right? And that's got to be so. And here's our expenses. This was beforehand. This is what's going to. So if you're doing profit share, you need to be very, very transparent.
Yeah.
And that again is a problem with giving away money. Because you can give away money and it's they don't know what they're doing or how it's going. But if you can show them on a piece of paper that, okay, this is it, you've made this amount of money. And that's, again, I suppose, a good one. I'll give you an example. We might take a little bit on this, but a guy, Frankie from Frankie's Auto Electrician, used to have he's got a battery truck that used to go out on the road. And so he had an employee that wasn't performing. Well, he didn't know whether he was performing or not, but the employee came and asked him for a pay rise. He asked me what to do. And I said, well, is the truck making any money? He said, I don't know whether it is or isn't. And I said, okay, well, this is it. And he said, okay, drag out the numbers on the truck. Here's the numbers on the truck. Get your employee to go for the month and say, if we're making money, I'll look at what sort of incentive I can give you. And if you're not making money, then we'll have to
give me money.
Yeah, we'll have a talk about it. He went through and he didn't actually say it like that at the beginning. He just turned around and said, let's see how it's going to work for the month and see how much money the truck's making. So the guy came back in, Frankie sat down with all the numbers from the truck, what batteries he sold and all that sort of stuff, and the truck was actually losing money. And Frankie rang me up and said, mate, I've just done the numbers, the truck's losing money. What do I do? And I said, well, you have to show him. And he sat down with the guy. He said, mate, here's the money. Here's what you sold for the month. What do you think I should do? And the guy just turned around and said, I suppose my pay rise is out of the question, isn't it? He disqualified himself.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing, if the truck had been making money, yeah, well, Frankie would have been in a spot where he could say, okay, well, if you can maintain that sort of numbers, I can do something with you. But, it's about transparency with the numbers.
Yeah, excellent. Well, mate, that's great. I think that pretty much wraps that episode up. Is there anything else you wanted to add there?
No, really just, keep the team involved, empowered. Don't let them get stagnant in that sort of sense. Empower them, skill them, upskill them where you can.
Yeah.
But the main thing is get them enrolled, become a team, and have some fun with it.
Yeah, and give them a clear path through a career. It's not always, as you said before, it's not always about money. It's about knowing that your job's going to end somewhere, or you've got something to look forward to, or something to strive towards.
Yeah, hire the right people, and to take that business to the next level.
Greg, once again, thank you very much for joining us on this podcast and sharing your wisdom. I'm sure there are going to be comments that have come back from this, so we may have to hit you up again.
No problem.
Yeah, no, mate, thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. And all the listeners will be able to get hold of you through the comments in the show notes. Do just want to give a quick shout out to where they can find you.
Yep, if they want to just go to tradescoaching.com or buildersprofits.com, just reach out either one of those two websites on the contact us form, or join us on any of the webinars we've got coming up, any of that sort of stuff. But just tradescoaching.com or buildersprofits.com.
Fantastic. Well, mate, thanks again. And that is a wrap.
That's a wrap. Cool. Great, mate. Thanks for that.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to the siteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from this show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.